Hello everyone and welcome back to OneSoccer. I'm your host for today, Josh Deming, and we are back with another episode of our Canadians Abroad Summer Series. There are a lot of topics to touch on today, including Olympiacos targeting Larin, we have Buchanan moving to Chelsea, and we have a roundup of the CONCACAF Nations League. We have special guests Adam Jenkins and Alex Gonge-Ruzic stopping by, so hopefully you guys are excited, and if you are, as always, be sure to drop a like, drop a sub as well, and let's get into the update now. One of the biggest transfer sagas surrounding Canadian soccer this summer was the future of Kadeisha Buchanan. Well, her future has been decided. Kadeisha Buchanan is one of the world's best center backs, and she has signed a contract with Chelsea through the summer of 2025. Buchanan will be leaving European giants Lyon after 5.5 seasons in which she won 5 domestic titles and 5 UEFA Champions League crowns. Buchanan helped win the Canadian women's national team an Olympic gold at the Tokyo Games last year. She joined Lyon in the early stages of 2027 straight out of college and has found unbelievable success, and she had this to say about her move to Chelsea. "I am coming to Chelsea with the same ambition I always had. Win trophies and become the best in the world. The club has everything in order for us to compete in every competition, and it's time to bring the Champions League trophy to London." There will be a familiar face at Chelsea FC for Kadeisha Buchanan, as she'll be joining up with fellow Canadian women's national team player Jessie Fleming, and they're hoping to take their chemistry off and on the pitch, and Jessie Fleming will definitely look to help Kadeisha Buchanan with the transition period.
I think the support system that Kadeisha Buchanan is going to have in England is going to be crucial. I mean, it's not just Jessie Fleming as a teammate. I mean, that's going to be very huge to have a Canadian face, someone that she's familiar with, has played with at the national team for so long. But just the fact that there's been so many Canadians in and out of the league, even now with Shalina Zadorsky, Deanne Rose, some of these players, I think it's going to help Kadeisha Buchanan a lot, because it's always tough to move to a new country, a new league, especially you've been in France for so long, in Canada before that. So it'll be good for her. So it gives her kind of less to worry about, and just allows her to focus on getting on in the field at Chelsea and helping them become the European superpower that they want to.
There is going to be a lot of pressure on Kadeisha Buchanan given her resume and everything she's accomplished, but it's interesting to note that she opted to take the number 26 jersey. Now that jersey has not been worn since John Terry since 2017. It's remained vacant. It's absolutely insane that she wants to go with this. They know what this jersey and this number means to these Chelsea fans, but she's up for it. She's not afraid of the pressure, and she's going to help this team go to the next level.
For sure, there's going to be a lot of pressure for Kadeisha Buchanan at Chelsea. I think that's the kind of club it is. It's a big club. They want trophies. They've been successful in the women's game. They've been successful in the men's game. But that's something that Kadeisha Buchanan's well familiar with. I mean, playing at Lyon, that was a team that any year where you don't win the treble felt like a bit of an off year. I mean, when you've won 5 Champions Leagues, 5 league titles, 3 French Cups, it's pretty much all she knows is winning. So I think there's going to be a lot of pressure at Chelsea, especially given how much it cost for her, one of the record fees for a defender, to come in, fill in the number 26 John Terry shirt as a center back, also some added pressure, the pressure of wanting to win a Champions League for the first time. There's going to be a lot of asked of Kadeisha Buchanan, but I also think given what was demanded of her at Lyon, where winning and excellence is a mandatory requirement when you're at a club like that, no reason why she can't adapt to that, and she's shown that with Canada. In the big games, the big moments, she shines, and I don't think that's going to be any different for her at Chelsea.
The Canadian men's national team June window has come to a close, and what a window it's been. There's been a lot of highs and a lot of lows. It started off with the cancelled friendly against Iran, which as we know was cancelled due to political reasons. We then saw another friendly scheduled against Panama, which was also cancelled due to player compensation disputes. Ugly scenes happened, but we were able to get together and start the match against Curacao on time at BC Place, and it was an incredible performance. Canada won 4-0, were convincing winners, and gave glimpses of what this incredible team can do at Qatar. However, the second match in the Nations League did not go according to plan. They went down to Honduras and had a terrible, terrible time. The weather was atrocious. The match was one that I personally have never really seen before. The waterlogged pitch was ridiculous. You didn't know when you were making a pass if it would ever make it to the player. You saw players slipping left, right, and center on both sets of sides. You saw the ball get stuck, players fall over it. It was a disaster, but someone had to win it, and Honduras went out there, put up a decent performance, played to the environment, played to the weather, found a couple of goals. Jonathan David did pull one back in the end, but At the end of the day, the Canadian national team players were very, very frustrated with the performance, very frustrated with the environment, and ended up losing that match 2-1 to go with a record right now of 1-0-1. Taking a look at the standings, in first place in our group is Honduras with a 2-0-1 record, and second is Canada with a 1-0-1 record, and third is Curacao with a 1-0-2 record. The CONCACAF Nations League will start back up in March 2023, where Canada will head to Curacao and then finish off the group stage at home against Honduras. More than likely, due to this loss to Honduras, Canada will have to win out as they have played one less game if they want a good chance at moving on to the semifinal in a competition that John Herman wants to win. In the last edition of the CONCACAF Nations League, Canada lost out in the group stage to the United States, who went on to win this competition. Canada's looking for a little bit of revenge. They want this trophy. There's a long time before the next group stage happens, but those next two games are important. If Canada can win them, they will set themselves up nicely to head to the semifinals. All in all, the June window was probably one to forget for Canada and their supporters. After seeing two friendlies canceled for two different reasons, a really good performance against Curacao, followed by a frustrating performance in Honduras, we're just looking ahead to September. September will be the most important window. It's the window right before the World Cup. There's a lot of work to do. Canada needs to find 3 friendlies, hopefully 3 competitive friendlies, and more than likely in Europe. We'll have to keep an eye on how that goes, but that is the one that the Canadian men's national team supporters need to focus on, because that would be very telling leading up to the form of the Canadian men's national team in the World Cup. Another big transfer saga that has been surrounding Canadian soccer this summer is the future of Cyle Larin. Cyle Larin is a free agent since leaving Besiktas. He had an incredible spell there, including one season where he scored 19 goals and was a league and cup double winner. It's not hard to imagine that there's going to be a lot of clubs interested in Cyle Larin. There's been a lot of interest coming out of Turkey, especially with Galatasaray and Istanbul Besiktas, but there's also been interest in the Premier League with Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest would be an incredible landing spot for Cyle Larin, going to the Premier League, having a familiar face there as well with Laryea, giving him an opportunity to shine from the left-hand side or a striker at the highest of levels. However, according to Fabrizio Romano, who recently tweeted out that Olympiacos are interested in Cyle Larin as a free agent signing. He could play as a number 9 or on the left. Larin is in the list since a long time. Olympiacos are looking to satisfy the player with his salary expectations. At this stage in Cyle Larin's career, he is looking for a contract that he thinks that he deserves. Olympiacos seem to be the closest to giving him those demands, and Olympiacos is a solid team. This is the team where Cyle Larin will be competing for cup and league doubles almost every single season, as well as having the opportunity to play in Europe. It's a club that clearly want him, clearly can mold their team around him to allow him to play on the left or through the middle, and they can give him a good opportunity to find his form leading up to a World Cup, which ultimately at the end of the day is the most important thing for players leading up to playing in this World Cup. It's also worth noting that Cyle Larin has deleted all the pictures of him in a Besiktas kit on Instagram. Now, whether you think doing something like this is telling or not, it is interesting to maybe theorize that a club like Galatasaray or Istanbul Besiktas, one of the Istanbul clubs, could be coming back in and taking a look at Cyle Larin. But from what we understand right now, Olympiacos is in the driver's seat. We're going to have to take a look at how this transfer saga will wrap up. The first 2 2026 World Cup cities have reportedly been selected. Vancouver and Toronto have reportedly been selected to host 10 games between them in the 48-team World Cup. Edmonton is reportedly out of the running, but their mayor states that they have not heard from FIFA regarding a decision. FIFA will announce all of the host cities from the 2022 candidates across Canada, the US, and Mexico on June 16th. This is big news for Canadian men's national team supporters, as we know 2022 is going to be a good warm-up, a good opportunity to see what this Canadian men's national team can do at the global level. But 2026 is the goal. It's the end game to see where this program can go and give the opportunity for Canadian supporters to watch their country play on home soil. A lot to keep forward to, so keep an eye on FIFA on June 16th. The 2022 CONCACAF Men's U20 Championship starts on June 18th. The tournament will run from June 18th to July 3rd, 2022, and it's hosted in Honduras. There's a lot on the line for these young athletes competing in this tournament, as 4 teams will qualify for the 2023 U20 World Cup, and 2 teams will qualify for the 2024 Olympic Games. So essentially, if you make it to the semifinals, you qualify for the U20 World Cup, and if you make it to the finals, you qualify for the Olympic Games. Canada has been drawn into Group E with St. Kitts and Nevis, Cuba, and their rivals, the United States. Canada released their 20-man roster, and there's a couple big names to keep an eye on, including Rida Zouhir as well as Justin Smith. Justin Smith plays in France with Nice, and he can play as number 6 or a center back, 2 positions where the Canadian national team will really look to utilize this player. Justin Smith has a bright future in front of him, and he's got the opportunity to shine for Canada in a competition where a lot is on the line. There are also a lot of talented Canadian Premier League players who are going to have the opportunity to make a name for themselves in this tournament.
I think of the 6 CPL players that were named, we're going to be keeping the closest eye on Jean-Aniel SC, Luel Wright, and Kwesi Poku, just because they've been able to perform this year so far brilliantly against people from all ages. In the CPL, you have people at various stages of their careers, and they've shown that they can compete with them. So when you put them in this environment where they are within their own generation, their own age group, and what sort of maturity level they can have, how strong are they, how quick are they, how much skill do they have on the ball, versus people at their own relative stage of their career, it'll be a great opportunity for them to show John Herdman and the country, who will be no doubt tuning in, just how far along they are in their progression and what we might actually be able to expect of these players, potentially in the men's national team fold at the senior level down the road.
Canadian supporters have really enjoyed watching their national team thrive over the last year and a bit, and this is an opportunity to take a look at them doing it at the youth level. These players are going to have huge expectations. There's a lot riding on this tournament, and they're also aiming for that 2026 spot. We want to mold these youngsters to not just go for this high rise that we have, but to maintain it. And I think a lot of these players are up for the task.
I actually think there's a fair amount of pressure on these young men to go on and qualify for the U20 World Cup. I think it was 2007 the last time that Canada had made it to the World Cup for that age group, and you have players like David Edgar and Tosaint Ricketts on that team, and obviously we know the careers that they'd go on to have. But in the moment right now, they're seeing the success that the senior men's national team is having and how the world is starting to take notice. And these young men, especially Mauro Biello as well, are going to want to show that it's not just a few superstars and John Herdman who've put together this group that can go on and get the world to take notice. They want to show that there's momentum, that it's filtering down top to bottom, and it's not just a flash in the pan. It's going to be Canada Soccer now and down the road in the future, with another crop of superstars coming through that are going to help push the envelope forward and prove that Canada Soccer is here and Canada Soccer is not going anywhere.
FIFA made a big announcement regarding the 2022 World Cup. FIFA announced that the International Football Association Board has permanently approved the expansion of team rosters and allowable substitutions for top-level competitions. This gives managers access to a 15-player bench and 5 total substitutions as an update to the law of the game for 2022-2023, effective July 1st, 2022. This could be a welcome change for Canadian men's national team manager John Herdman, whose World Cup roster selection headache has become a lot more manageable now that he can add 3 additional players for Qatar 2022. John Herdman usually likes selecting around 25 players for his recent camps, and having a 26-man World Cup roster spot will probably be one that John Herdman is interested in doing, given the fact that a lot of players have taken their games to the next level. We've seen players like Raheem Edwards and Charles Brim get rewarded because of their form. Both players are absolutely thriving at club level. Raheem Edwards is one of the best left backs in the MLS for LA Galaxy, and Brim had an incredible campaign with Eindhoven, which got him a move to an Eredivisie club in Sparta Rotterdam. Knowing that there's a few extra spots on the line, this upcoming season will be massive for many Canadians trying to thrive and get into that 26-man roster spot. John Herdman will have a very difficult job to do, but one that he's probably relishing to giving these opportunities to these Canadians to go to a World Cup. But there's always a flip side to it, because yes, it's very difficult to pick these players to come because there's been so many players that John Herdman has used over this course of qualifying for the World Cup. He's got to really narrow it down. He's got to take a look at his brotherhood, because he's built this brotherhood. He's gotten these players to commit to this team, to commit for each other. This is a core group. So he needs to make sure that the 26 is going to mold that. It may not just be the players who can do it on the pitch, but can do it in the locker room. And there's a lot for John Herdman to take into consideration. But as we've seen, he hasn't really let us down with his roster selections anytime soon. So having this 26-man roster will be interesting for him heading up to this World Cup. Nottingham Forest star Jed Spence has showed his preference that he wants to join Tottenham Hotspur this summer. Spence is contracted at Middlesbrough until 2024, but the championship team are prepared to do business this summer with a host of different sides that want to sign him. Spence spent last season on loan with Nottingham Forest, helping Steve Cooper's men secure promotion to the Premier League. But after a sensational season in the championship for Spence, Spurs are heavily interested in the player, and that is where Spence looks like he wants to go, although no agreement has been reached yet. This will have huge implications on Richie Laryea's future. As we know, Laryea was a mainstay at TFC through very successful years, as well as the Canadian men's national team, and we just recently in this last window saw what the player can do at full potential. He went to the hottest team in the championship in January, and it was very difficult to break into, especially when a player like Spence was playing at that level. Laryea only had 1 start for Forest, as well as a few appearances coming off the bench, but didn't really get that opportunity to thrive like he might get next season. When Laryea did feature for Forest, he did look impressive and he did look up to the pace, but jumping from the championship to the Premier League is a completely different ballgame. Nottingham Forest know that, Richie Laryea know that, but Forest have to do good business. They have to find a team that can compete in the Premier League and stay up in the Premier League. So if you lose a player like Spence who is on loan, you have one in Laryea that can technically come in and do a job at wingback or at fullback. And then you can spend money elsewhere to mold this team around. If you go out and buy another right back, then just have a piece like Richie Laryea who doesn't really have a spot in this team, and you don't spend that money elsewhere. So there's a likelihood that if Spence does join a team like Tottenham, Laryea will have that opportunity to take a look at the Premier League and give it, and he's going to have to run with it. It's a sink or swim type situation for Richie Laryea. I think he'll back himself that he can do it at this level. This is why he moved to Europe, and his dream may become a reality. On the flip side of that, if they don't look to blossom their team elsewhere in other positions and they do want to bring in another fullback, then Laryea's future once again could be up in the air because he did not feature a lot in the championship, which means more than likely he will not feature a lot in the Premier League if they buy a replacement. So there's a lot of decisions to be made by Richie Laryea, Nottingham Forest, and especially Steve Cooper to see how much trust he's going to give to Richie Laryea. That's all the time we have for on this week's Canadians Abroad Summer Series episode. Hopefully you guys did enjoy it, and if you did, as always, be sure to drop a like, drop a sub as well, because we're getting very close to 50,000 subscribers. So if you want to help us reach our goal, dropping a sub will definitely do that. Also be sure to subscribe over to OneSoccer for all the best Canadian soccer coverage out there. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, take care and we'll talk to you soon. Cheers, friends.